Hi guys, so I'm finally doing an unboxing for Junho's first Korean mini album, Canvas. And the reason why it's taken me so long to film this is because I ended up pre-ordering 2 different copies of this from 2 different sellers. That's because there were basically 9 different trading cards you could get, and then 2 different CD plates. So usually it's best to order from different sellers, I found, than the same one, because often you kind of just get duplicates of the same random things if you order from the same seller. And so I ordered, actually it took me a while to actually pre-order this. I was kind of keeping track of all the pre-ordering options to see kind of what were the cheapest options and sort of the fastest way for these to get to me. And what happened was, I think maybe 2 weeks before its release, there were some pre-orders that came up, but then they were taken down from different sellers like Yes Asia and K-Pop Town, and so for a while you couldn't really pre-order this album. So I don't know if there's something up with just the manufacturer for this or what, but I forget exactly how many days, but a few days before this album was supposed to drop on September 11th. You could finally pre-order it from a few different sellers like K-Town for You and Yes Asia again and K-Pop Town. But while I was kind of waiting for those kind of my go-to sellers to open up pre-orders again, I found a few domestic sellers had pre-orders open. And so one of them was Choice Music LA, which I'm in California, and I figured maybe if I were to choose a domestic seller, maybe this album would get to me a little bit sooner than if I were to just kind of get slow shipping from Korea, or at least arrive around the same time as that option would have been. So I ended up pre-ordering my first copy from Choice, and then pre-orders from other kind of Korean online stores were opened up. So then I pre-ordered my second copy from K-Town for You with K-Packet shipping. And so what happened was my K-Town for You album arrived about a week and a half from the album release date. So that was again September 11th. But Choice Music took a while to actually notify me that they were shipping it. So they didn't notify me about shipment until the next month. So it was, I think, October 6th. It's when they printed their shipping label. But I don't think they dropped it off at the post office until October 11th. And so today is October 17th, and I finally have my second copy with me. So when it comes to Choice Music, I don't know if I'll be using them again because of this experience, and definitely not for pre-ordered albums. I know that like EXO and BTS all had releases during September, and not many people were probably ordering Junho's Canvas, but I still think that well after a month is kind of a long time to, especially when you're pre-ordering an album, to get it from a seller. So, and also this is actually the Choice Music copy I got, and it was slightly banged up, so there was a couple dents in the album. So yeah, the biggest one was this little dent. Then there's some other kind of small dents. It's probably gonna be hard to see on this camera. But yeah, it didn't arrive in perfect condition too, so that was another kind of bummer about thing that happened. But anyway, so that was my, I guess, qualms with pre-ordering this album and why it took me so long to do this unboxing. But I'll just show you briefly the CD plate that came in this one. So there's 2 different options available. So there's this option, and then in my K-Town for You album, this is the other CD plate you could get. And I'll show you the photo cards from both towards the end. But now I'm gonna just show you what's on this album here. So Okay, so if we take a closer look at the track list, which is listed on the back of the album, you see that there are 7 different songs on here, 2 of which are CD only, so you have to actually buy the physical album in order to get 2 additional tracks. And so those 2 tracks are Wow and Run to You. And all these songs, excluding this last one here featuring Cheeze, are all songs that Junho has released already in Japan on his solo albums. And I think myself and a lot of other hottists were disappointed that that was the case with this kind of Korean debut mini album. But it's totally understandable why he chose to kind of recycle some of his successful Japanese songs and release the Korean versions, which I believe he said in a couple of interviews are actually the original versions. So he writes, composes all of his songs in Korean, and then they're translated into Japanese for his Japanese mini albums. So it's kind of cool that Junho's kind of able to do that with a lot of his songs and share both versions. And both versions, in my opinion, sound really good. Like, I know a lot of those, when you have a K-pop group who have some successful Korean song, and so they decide to also release it on the Japanese market to make more money and try to transition into Japan, doing it that way rather than release original Japanese songs. A lot of times they sound a little funny, and the translations I don't think work so well. But Junho and a lot of, frankly, I think most of 2PM's solo and even group songs, I think kind of are one of those exceptions that they do translate well both in Korean and Japanese. Now, this isn't for all their songs, but a lot of their songs, I think, they're pretty successful at doing that transition. Junho's stuff in particular. But you have the title track here, Canvas. And so this got a music video along with 3 other of these songs. So Canvas, Fine, Instant Love, and also the duet track with Cheeze. All got special music videos. And why I'm saying they're special is because they're not really, like JYPE was a little bit lazy when it came to releasing music videos for Junho's Korean solo debut. So the Canvas, Fine, and Instant Love music videos were all just recycled versions of the footage that Junho showed in his Japanese concerts. So Canvas and Fine were both songs from his Japanese album he released a few months prior to Canvas, Canvas mini album. And then Instant Love was a song on his DSMN Japanese album that he released last year, so that was footage from when he was touring Japan that year. And so I think it's just another thing that kind of made hottists a bit disappointed with JYPE in promoting Junho's, again, his Korean solo debut. But Junho's schedule is just really busy. I'm surprised he actually even released anything in between his Japanese tour promoting 2017 SS, and his upcoming drama, which he's filming in Busan. So that was one of the reasons also why he didn't promote any of this on music shows, because he was, you know, only had kind of that 2-week gap where he had to kind of promote this mini album, and so music shows, in addition to having to film all the way in Busan, just didn't really make much sense. And he didn't really, I think a lot of fans are kind of worried about him. He's been working so hard this year. It's been kind of ridiculous, his schedule. So I'm kind of glad he chose not to go on music shows, because I think that just would have been really pushing his limits of how much he was able to do and that way he could kind of prepare for his Korean solo concert, which was also titled Canvas, and do a lot of fan engagements, which was pretty cool. But anyway, this was the Tracklist, and I'll show you what the inside looks like. Alright, so this is what inside the album looks like. So I already showed you what the CD plate looks like, and there's nothing behind there. And this photo book is rather long. And again, you have the track list here, and just have a lot of pictures of Junho. So he did a lot of these kind of sunset and night scenes. So there's only kind of two different photo concepts. So again, you have the sunset pictures, which all these are kind of the same images as on some of the photo cards and on his poster. And then you have these night scenes. And then this is the lyrics for Canvas. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, he wrote all these songs in Korean first, and then translated them into Japanese for his Japanese albums, and it's really hard for me to kind of choose which versions I prefer. So because I've heard the Japanese versions quite a bit before these Korean versions, I thought I maybe would have enjoyed those more, but the more I'm listening to these Korean versions, I'm kind of leaning more towards those. So as I mentioned earlier, JYPE just does a really good job, I think, transitioning between Korean and Japanese. And I guess that's no surprise because of how well they've been doing in Japan. They're able to kind of make that transition pretty seamlessly. And just more lovely pictures of Junho. And then we get some more night scenes here. And then his thanks to, which he always keeps rather brief, I've noticed. And then all the credits. And then last page. So all in all, I'm really happy that Junho was able to kind of release this album just to put his name out there in the Korean market, because he's been on the rise in terms of acting. With the success of Chief Kim from earlier this year, and he's going to be the new male lead in his upcoming romantic kind of, it's like I think it's advertised as a romantic melodrama. So that's going to start in December, which I'm really excited for. I'm always excited for whatever Junho does, but him being the male lead for this K-drama just made me super excited. But here are the photo cards I ended up pulling, and there's two different photo cards you get in each album. So you could get one of these kind of transparent cards. So this is what these two look like, and so there's three possible transparent cards you could get. So I'm just missing one more vertical one that has more of the night scene rather than the sunset scene. And then you could get one out of 6 of these larger cards. So these are kind of postcard size. So that's one of them, and then the other one looks like this. And you could also get the poster, which I did in my K-Town For You order. And it's one of those vertical posters, so I'm just gonna, let's see how this works. But I'm zoomed out. So basically this is the bottom. And then you have Canvas up on top. So even though this was sort of, I don't want to say disappointing Korean debut, but I'm kind of disappointed with how JYPE kind of went about this being his advertised as his Korean debut, and that I think a lot of people just weren't aware that this actually happened, or they just slept on this album in general. But I'm looking forward to what Junho does more in Korea now that his popularity has been starting to grow because of his acting. And he's someone who I don't think will abandon music for acting, even if he does kind of take off in the acting market, because he really enjoys making music and producing music. And I think that just shows with how much he is involved in the music making process and how he's kind of pushed himself to promote yearly doing solo stuff in Japan and writing music for group 2 p.m. activities too. So I'm curious to see what else he's able to squeeze in before he'll have to enlist, and also what this will mean after his enlistment. So I think when it comes to Korean artists who do solo work and they come from these K-pop groups, I think Junho is definitely one to look out for. I don't want to like compare him to other solo acts, but I would say he's kind of comparable to Tame and stuff. He's kind of someone who who could kind of do it all, and he's a great dancer. You're right, composes his own music. He's a great singer. He also acts. Like, he's just an all-around entertainer who just has this big work aesthetic that is just very admirable. And just looking forward to more fans kind of, I guess, recognizing his efforts and enjoying what he's been putting out for years, really. So that's it for this unboxing. If you guys have listened to Canvas or any of Junho's other solo work, I would love to know your guys' thoughts pertaining to this promotion period or the album in general. And if you're as excited as I am for his upcoming drama. That's all. Bye, guys.